their night tormented by paranoia and uncertainty. Adrian's intention wasn't to create a dramatic confrontation, but to sow the seeds of unease, making Elena and Thomas question every move they made. For the next few days, Adrian's behavior shifted just enough to keep Elena on edge. He became distant, his once warm smiles replaced by a detached indifference. He asked fewer questions about her whereabouts, creating a vacuum that forced her to overthink his silence. He left subtle hints. A misplaced set of keys, a photo of the two of them turned face down on the mantel, and once, a single wine glass in the sink when she returned home late, as though he'd entertained someone in her absence. Elena grew visibly nervous. Her usual confidence gave way to uncertainty, her charm faltering under the weight of Adrian's calm, calculated demeanor. She would occasionally ask, "Is everything okay?" Adrian would respond with a faint smile and a non-committal, "Why wouldn't it be?" The ambiguity gnawed at her. Meanwhile, Adrian's plan continued to unfold. He had no interest in a direct confrontation. Instead, he wanted her betrayal to unravel her carefully constructed life. He anonymously mailed the photos and evidence gathered by the private investigator to a few select recipients: her closest friends, her parents, and, most importantly, the board of the prestigious gallery where she worked. He included a note that read, "Integrity matters in every aspect of life." The fallout was swift. Within days, whispers of Elena's infidelity spread through her social and professional circles. Invitations to events she once dominated dried up. Her boss called her in for a meeting, subtly suggesting that her personal choices might reflect poorly on the gallery's image. The walls of her perfect life began to close in. Adrian wasn't done yet. He had one final move to make. Using his connections in the architectural world, he reached out to a Berlin developer who had been considering Thomas Klein for an exclusive art collaboration. Over a casual lunch, Adrian shared the details of Thomas's affair, not as gossip, but as a reflection of his questionable character. The developer, concerned about the scandal tainting his project, quietly removed Thomas from consideration. Adrian's strategy wasn't about revenge. It was about reclaiming control and ensuring Elena and Thomas felt the consequences of their actions. One evening, as Adrian sat in his pristine, architecturally perfect living room, Elena finally broke down. "Adrian," she began, her voice trembling, "I know something's wrong. I feel like you're slipping away from me. Please, can we talk?" Adrian looked at her for a long moment, his gaze steady and unyielding. "Elena," he said calmly, "we both know there's no point in pretending anymore. I've seen the emails. I know about Thomas." Her face turned pale, tears brimming in her eyes. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "It was a mistake." "A mistake," Adrian interrupted, "is something you learn from, not something you repeat over months." She sobbed, but Adrian felt no sympathy. Instead, he stood, towering over her, and said, "You destroyed the trust we built. Now, you get to live with the wreckage." And with that, Adrian walked away, leaving Elena to grapple with the life she had shattered. In the days that followed, Adrian began rebuilding, not just his home, but himself. He realized the betrayal, as painful as it was, had freed him from a life of illusions. For the first time in years, he felt liberated, ready to design a new chapter where honesty and respect would be the foundation. The rest of the night was filled with unease as both Elena and Thomas waited for something to happen, their minds racing with fear. But for Adrian, this was only the beginning of his plan. After leaving the ominous black trash bag on Thomas's doorstep, he returned home, knowing they wouldn't sleep that night. They would be consumed by worry, unsure of what would come next. Adrian wasn't interested in immediate violence. His approach was much more patient, designed to let them unravel on their own. The next morning, Elena sent her first desperate message. "Adrian, I know you're angry. Please, let's talk. It's not what you think. I made a mistake. Let me explain." Adrian didn't respond. Silence held more power than any words could. Elena was left in the dark, unsure of just how much Adrian knew and what he might do. The uncertainty gnawed at her. Meanwhile, Adrian's focus shifted to Thomas. He had already uncovered the cracks in the man's reputation, his inflated status in the art world, questionable financial dealings, and a series of discreet affairs. Adrian knew it was time to reveal the truth about Thomas Klein. He reached out to a journalist with a taste for exposing the art world's dirty secrets. Adrian provided her with a carefully compiled dossier. Evidence of Thomas's fraudulent activities, accounts from disgruntled clients, and hints at the affair with Elena. The journalist wasted no time, publishing a scathing article that made waves across the media. Art dealers' dirty secrets, fraud, affairs, and a fall from grace. The impact was immediate. Thomas's investors pulled their support. Business partners distanced themselves, and clients canceled their contracts. The man who once stood at the top of his field now scrambled to save what little was left of his career. Adrian sent the article directly to Thomas's inbox with a simple, chilling note. It's only just begun. Next, Adrian moved with surgical precision. As an architect, he had built a life of financial security, but he was equally adept at tearing down a life. He learned that Thomas had used his properties to fund his lavish lifestyle, leaving him dangerously close to financial ruin. Adrian anonymously alerted Thomas's creditors, providing them with proof of his unstable financial situation. The pressure mounted quickly. Within weeks, Thomas was forced to sell his prized assets, including the Berlin apartment where he and Elena had shared their secret nights. Elena hadn't yet realized, but her lover's world was crumbling. Adrian's goal was to make her feel the full force of her betrayal, not just emotionally, but socially and financially. He filed for divorce, presenting solid evidence of Elena's infidelity. Thanks to their prenuptial agreement, she was entitled to nothing. When Elena received the divorce papers, she fell apart. She showed up at Adrian's office unannounced, tears streaming down her face. "Adrian, please," she sobbed. "I know I messed up. I was stupid, but we can fix this. We can go back to the way things were." Adrian looked at her coldly, his expression unreadable. "Fix this?" he repeated. "You didn't just make a mistake, Elena. You made a choice, over and over again, and now you'll have to live with it." For the first time, Elena seemed to understand the gravity of her actions. Adrian turned and walked away, leaving her crying in the hallway. Adrian's revenge wasn't simply about punishment. It was about removing any illusion of control that Thomas and Elena had over their lives. His final blow was both symbolic and devastating. He purchased the Berlin apartment that Thomas had been forced to sell, the very apartment where his wife had betrayed him. Adrian didn't need the property, but it served as a statement. Once the deal was finalized, Adrian sent Thomas a photo of the front door, captioned simply, "Mine now." Thomas's reaction was predictable. Angry texts and threats, all of which Adrian ignored. He had won. There was nothing Thomas could do to change the outcome. Months later, Adrian had fully moved on. He sold the Berlin apartment at a profit and relocated to Milan, where he began working on a new luxury project, a boutique hotel that would mark the next phase of his career. Revenge no longer held his attention. He had reclaimed his life, his dignity, and his peace. As for Elena, she had fallen from grace. Without Adrian's support, she struggled to find work in the art world. Word of her affair with Thomas had spread, and her reputation was irreparably damaged. Thomas, too, had faded into obscurity. His career and finances were in ruins. One day, Adrian received a letter from Elena. It was a long, rambling apology, full of regret. She admitted she had thrown away the best thing in her life and begged for his forgiveness. Adrian read the letter, folded it neatly, and tossed it into the trash. Forgiveness isn't something you ask for, he thought. It's something you earn, and some mistakes can never be undone. Was Adrian's revenge justified? If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more gripping tales like this. Let me know your thoughts below, and stay tuned for the next one.